This is Adam Watson. You're listening to the Darkslinger Mafia podcast. Returning to the show tonight, we have as our very special guest, Sam Quinton. How's it going, Sam?
Well, it's going really great. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Hey, thanks for being on again. So you're about ready to launch, is it your 15th Kickstarter?
Something like that, yeah.
And you're returning with the second issue of 47 Furious Tales, correct?
That's correct, yeah. I should say, we of those previous campaigns, we've had 10 that were successful and fulfilled, and then we're coming back again to bring issue 2 out. So we're really looking forward to putting it in people's hands.
So this is going to be your 11th fully fulfilled Kickstarter. That's what we're going to say.
Yep, that's what we're going to say.
So for the audience members who may not be familiar with 47 Furious Tales, why don't you give us a quick synopsis?
Okay, so in the early 18th century, there was an event where 47 samurai, their daimyo, their lord, committed seppuku to atone for an infraction at court. And then revenge was banned by the shogun. But these 47 ronin then took 2 years and avenged the death of their lord. It's commonly referred to as the Eiko incident. There's a proper name for it in Japanese that I don't pronounce very well. But we are telling that story using anthropomorphic animals across a 12-issue limited series. In full color, no less.
And hand-painted, right?
It's kind of, in a way. The colors are done digitally, but the actual original page art is done in traditional ink and ink wash by Alexia Villalobos.
Oh, okay. When I read the first issue, I didn't realize it was digitally colored. I actually thought the whole thing was painted.
I know, it looks that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
She's really pretty remarkable about that. And I think that part of it is just because the detail she does after the ink wash is applied kind of lends that flavor to it.
So you've already released the first issue, and
oh yeah,
as I have a copy, I know it's slightly smaller than standard comic size as far as inch height goes. Are you going to keep with that for the remaining 11 issues?
Well, right, we're doing 6x9 digest size. Eventually, once all 12 issues are done, we'll collect it in a hardbound edition, and so it'll be a nice, convenient book size for everyone's bookshelves that way. And it's a really sturdy book. Issue 1's 28 pages, but we've had these printed on really high-grade papers, so that this is something that will survive in people's collections for decades to come. It's really the highest-grade materials that we could reasonably use in a comic book.
Can I make a quick suggestion there?
Sure.
So before you do the hardcover, when you get to issue number 6, after that's been out for a few months, do a trade of number 1 through 6, and then do a second volume of 7 through 12, and then do the hardcover after that. The reason I state that is because if you have the soft cover that has half it and it's in volume 1, you're going to pick up a lot more readers for the second half of it.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I think I will definitely do that. That's the advantage of being the owner of the company. You can say, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Right?
I like that. That's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love hardcover, so I would still upgrade my copy to hardcover even though I got the soft cover. So,
This is why everyone should be listening to the Darkslinger Mafia podcast.
Well, thank you for that.
we get good business tips, guys. Listen up. Pay attention to that. Really speaking.
Well, I pretty much spend like 24 hours a day working in the comic industry in some facet, so,
Yeah.
So
I learned most of what I've learned from crowdfunding, especially that first year, fielding questions from you and 2 other people who've done it before. Most of the information I got was from you, so we must be doing something right.
Must be, and thank you for that. It's a big compliment, actually.
Well, 10 successful campaigns in under 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a really good record.
Yeah, we hustle. We do. We hustle.
Absolutely. So what are you going to be doing to promote this one this time?
Well, we've been doing a lot on social media, first and foremost. We kind of have been teasing it out until the last few weeks where we've been going pretty hard. We've got the pre-launch page up. We've got, when I last checked, 80 people who have signed up for notifications there. We're going to need about 500 people to fund But I think we're off to a strong start with that number. And then plus we're expecting probably most of our original backers to come back. We're in the weird position where we haven't had any negative comments about the issue.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if that's because people are just very kind or just because they really liked it. Let me move this so I can get some feedback here. The book itself, when people put it in their hands, they're just like, wow, this is kind of cool. Because, I mean, you've got print copies, so you know what I'm talking about. We did that satin soft touch finish on the high-grade paper.
Right.
And that thing holds up beautifully. One thing we are going to do, too, is that since, we had about 170 some backers that brought book one out, for book two, we're actually making book one available for free download right off the campaign page, so that if you're not familiar with 37 Furious Tales, you can go to the Kickstarter page when it launches on Wednesday the 5th, download the first book completely for free, read through it, see what you think, and if you like it, go ahead and support the campaign and get in on book two.
That's a great idea. Do you have issue number one available digitally anywhere else?
Yeah, it's on Drive-Thru Comics, drivethrurpg.com. It's available there readily all the time. It's $1.99 if I remember right. We had it on sale for a while, and it was 99 cents on the holidays, but I think we've already moved back to $1.99 because we extended the sale for a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's a beautiful book. If you don't want to wait for the Kickstarter on Wednesday, you can get it on Drive-Thru Comics, 47 Furious Tales issue 1, and I think you'll find it's a lot of fun. We did get a lot of good feedback from backers, so we've got a little more narrative content by text narrative, the narrative boxes, and probably my toughest critic, Alexia Veldhausen, who does the art, she claims that book two is even better written than book one. And I'll take that as a high compliment. So
absolutely,
I'm really looking forward to hearing what people think about it when it comes out. And then we've got a limited number of copies in print available on the Kickstarter as well as part of one of the tiers. We've got 50 copies left to get that out of that original print run.
Okay. Are you going to go back for a second print after that?
We made an effort to try and crowdfund a second print run, and we didn't quite get there. So I think we're probably just going to wait until we do that trade after this sixth book is out. And then if we ever take it to where we need to do another print run sometime down the line, or if we ever go to a broad spectrum release, we'll get new covers made and then put them out that way. Oh. But any re-release will involve a new cover, so that make it more easily distinguishable and preserve the value for our Kickstarter backers.
I will say, when it comes to convention sales, you'll have a much easier time selling them if you have all of the issues in stock on your table.
Oh yeah, we had when we went to the Garden State Comic Festival, we sold. Man, I lost track how many we sold. But they sold left and right, and it was literally I had one demo copy that I had in hand, and I would just put it in people's hands. They'd open it, stop it at the first page, and say, "How much is this?" I tell them, and they're like, "Yeah, I want one," and I would hand them one that was already bagged, boarded, and signed for them, and we were all off to the races. And it was a really great experience. It was my first convention as a vendor, and I loved it.
Oh, that's great news.
Mm-hmm.
So how many conventions are you planning on doing in the future?
I'm currently planning on coming back to the Garden State Comic Festival in June, if my schedule allows. We're going to be trying to put together a table again with several of the artists that I commissioned like we did last year. And then if I can get a table, I'm going to try and make the Lexington Toy and Comic Convention. And I think it's in October this year. So I'm going to probably try and do two. I might try and squeeze in a third one at the Frankfurt Comic Convention. And I'll probably go to the Cincinnati Comic Con just to go as an attendee and meet and greet and talk to some folks there that we did. I want to talk some indie comic stuff with.
All right, gotcha. So you have plans for at least a few coming up.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a need to do kind of thing if you're going to get your name out there, and definitely one of those things that I think can help in the long run. There's plenty of indie comic guys out there, and everyone's doing their best to get good content out. And meeting other people can only be a good experience to help share information and talk about how we get our stuff crowdfunded, how we get our stuff fulfilled, how we get access to shipping in Europe, that kind of thing.
Right. I think the fulfillment part is one of the things that's snagging people the most.
Yeah, definitely. I think that fulfillment kind of puzzles people sometimes. I had a couple of creators, and I think you probably saw some of these conversations because they were public on social media. We had a couple of people who were asking about fulfillment. I had told one gentleman in particular, make sure that you are shipping your books in something like a Gemini comic mailer or something that's a good cardboard mailer to protect your books. And he forwent that in favor of like a stiff envelope, which I actually considered at one time and discarded after I looked it over. But I told him, you definitely want to use a mailer, and he didn't. And he had about 30 books or so where people were complaining about losses publicly for damage to books, and that's a lot. It's a lot of damaged books. And I say about 30 because that things like about the number of people I saw who were complaining about it. And to his credit, he did turn around and send them new books. So, I mean, I'm all about people who take care of their fulfillment obligations. That's important to me. So I think in that regard, he showed a lot of integrity.
Yeah, and, there are a lot of ways to shortcut it and still do it correctly. Like, what I actually do with comics is, and you probably know this because you've received a comic from me, is I take 2 sheets of stiff cardboard, cut them to oversize, bigger than the size of the comic, then bubble wrap that as a sandwich, and that either goes into an envelope or a box, depending on how many are going in there,
Right, and I've never had a problem with any book from you. All of them have come out great.
Yeah, I don't have problems with, I sell on eBay for a living, and I never have problems with people receiving their product well, and the cardboard I use is actually stuff I get for free from the liquor store. Because, most people think liquor store boxes are just thinking about the boxes that have the liquor on them, right? Mm-hmm. But liquor stores use something that are called repacks, which is for the bottles that they have to send back to the distributor.
Right.
And for those, there are these folded pieces of cardboard that are completely straight, very stiff. And when they get them back from the liquor store, they have to just throw them in their recycler, right?
Right.
So if you talk to your liquor store and get friendly with them, you can actually get these for free. And
cool.
I do 100% of my comic shipping using those. Never had a problem with a single one. Sometimes they'll hand me one that's too creased up to use or something like that, and that just goes in my recycler, But overall, it's free cardboard that you can use. You don't have to pay for it. You just have to spend your time to pick it up,
Well, I mean, you've seen how I've been shipping mine, too.
Oh, yeah, the Gemini mailers are great.
Yeah, the Gemini mailers, and then I had a guy ask me why I also put the bubble wrap on there, and I think it's probably for the same reason you use yours. It's that little extra protection.
Right.
In there. And, I mean, a little extra protection goes a long way.
Oh, so definitely.
It basically adds almost $1 to the total shipping cost because of materials.
Right.
Between the Gemini and the other, which that'll add up over time. But the only books I've ever had to replace, I had the post office contacted me because they had every once in a while accidents happen, and they had apparently one of their bins got hit by a truck, and and so there were like 6 of my books that got damaged. But I mean, I didn't hear it from the backers, thank God. The post office contacted me, and I came down and just, we got it all sorted out, got new ones sent out. Those books were absolutely destroyed.
Oh.
But that's what happens when your comic gets hit by a semi-truck.
Yeah, it's not going to survive that no matter how well you package it.
There's just no way around it. But we got that all squared away. Unfortunately, I mean, the backers never even had any interference with it because it literally was a matter of the post office like, hey, we've got some stuff here that, is destroyed. We need you to come down there. I literally came down there to a tub of these mangled envelope stuff, and I'm like, oh wow. So, and I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and we'll repack those. I mean, not repack those comics, but get new comics and send them out. And those others were, they were completely destroyed. It was pretty tragic.
You should have framed one, put it on the wall.
Well, I think I'm starting a new tradition. I think I'm going to start taking and putting framed copies of the covers on my walls. I did that with issue 1. I'm planning on doing it on issue 2. Those big 24 by 36. And my goal is to eventually not have any wall space in this little office in my apartment. So force me to move into a bigger place, basically.
Yeah, I actually have something similar to that in my office. I have every single postcard and every poster that I've ever done. And I have posters made of all of the comic covers that are all framed in there. Plus some original art that some of the creators have given to me over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the original ink wash cover for 47 Furious Tales issue 1. And I am trying to find a good, nice metal and glass frame for it. Because I'm doing like the thing where you look at like secondhand stores and places like that where you find people who have gone and they've given away old art and stuff to their whatever you call it, peddler's mall or what have you. And if you don't like the art, you can always put the art in something else and salvage the frame.
Right.
But don't throw away the art, everyone, because that's how people end up tossing out Picassos by accident. Don't do that. That's not good. That's not cool. Yeah, you take and salvage some cool looking frames, and sometimes you get some older ones from like the 30s or the 40s that are really, really tight, and you see some neat stuff. But that's going to go in that, and I'm looking forward to that because that piece is pretty important to me.
Yeah.
It's comic,
Oh yeah, definitely. I still have all the original artwork from the first comic I did, The Pauper. Half of it was kept by the inker, and then the rest of it was sent to me. And
I don't think I've read that one.
The Pauper, it's actually, that's probably because it's currently out of print, because it suffered from being my first comic, if you know what I mean. It's not that it's awful. People who read it seem to still enjoy it. But I look at it and I'm like, this isn't what I want this story to be. So I've been spending the last, I would say probably about 6 years, doing all the fine detailing on it whenever I have time to do it. It's going to be a 6-issue miniseries when it's eventually released. But I will state that there's an issue in it that's very hard for me because I wrote it and then I sat back and read it and thought, what the fuck is wrong with me? And what I wrote kind of had made me sick. And my editor at the time came in and she's like, what have you been working on? And I showed it to her and she read it and she's like, if I edit this, I don't want my name on it.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, okay, well, that's understandable. But then somebody else read it and I'll tell you, the issue in question deals with sexually abuse situation.
Right.
Somebody who had actually gone through a similar situation had read it and said, you have to publish this. I'm like, okay, I'm not really sure I want to, though. And they're like, no, you have to. Like, this is really good, and I want you to. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I will. So sometimes that's just the way it works when you do that kind of stuff, though,
Yeah.
Like when I did the first, what is now the first issue of Ghost Assassin, the first story in it, Ghost Assassin Mercy, where David is hired to kill a cancer patient.
Right.
I started writing that when I was sitting in the hospital room with my best friend Ty, who was dying of cancer at the time, right? And when I finished writing that, I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with me? Why did I write something like this? And I showed it to him, and he said I had to put that out there too. So that's a reason why that got published, But sometimes you can disturb even yourself.
Ghost Assassin, you really should. That's one of my favorite indie books.
Oh, thank you.
Ghost Assassin. I mean, you did a fantastic job with it. Not gonna lie. It's in my comic collection alongside Arya. I mean, you're sitting right next to Anacleto, So what are you gonna do?
That's a huge compliment right there.
So,
Yeah, and we've actually talked before about how the look of the ghosts in Ghost Assassin were actually inspired by Arya.
Yeah, it's a really good book. I enjoy it.
Thank you very much. So, getting back to your book, though.
I get sidetracked like that. But yeah, 47 Furious Tales. Issue 2 is 20 full-color pages. Because the basic 12 issues are paced out so that they make sense rhythmically and carry through the story in a nice, even tone. We're going to get this launched on February 5th. We've got, if you happen to be listening to this and you're in New Jersey, anywhere near Madison, there is a launch party being thrown in Madison, New Jersey at the Drip Coffee House. And the artist, Alexia Velhausen, is going to be there, and she's actually exhibiting original art from issue 1 as well. Plus, they're having barbecue and just a whole big shindig down there. So if you're around Madison, definitely show up, help support the campaign, meet the artists. It's going to be a good time. For the rest of us who are other parts of the country, we're going to be live, and I hope that you'll come on out. If you haven't read issue 1, get your free copy. Go ahead and read it, see what we're doing. And then if you like it, go ahead and please do support issue 2. We've got some really friendly reward tiers, regardless of what your budget might be, whether you just want just digital or if you just want the comic. If you're in the U.S. and you just want the comic, you can get that for $10, and that includes shipping. And of course, it'll be packed just like everything else we pack, bag, boarded, in the comic mailer, protected, and sent off to you right away, right as soon as we finish. We anticipate fulfillment to be done in June. I'm hoping to get it done in May, but good safe bet we anticipate to be done in June.
Okay. So not too much time away then.
No. I mean, it's only 20 pages to illustrate the interior, and we want to give Alexia the time to devote to each page, because you've seen issue 1. She spent a lot of time on the details on these, especially some of the key historic images, like the tomb of Asana the Morning, the headstone of the monument, the tombs of the 47, the gravestones, the image of Aiko Castle. These were done from photographs of the locations and old artwork depicting it. And so there was a lot that went into putting that book together.
Yeah, sounds like there was a ton of work in it.
Yeah, and she doesn't read Japanese, and so she was trying to copy the kanji from the photographs on the tombs. It's not perfect. If you read kanji, you're going to realize it's not perfect. But it was a really nice effort, and she did a really good job on most all of it.
It's a very hard language to master. I actually took Japanese in college.
Yeah, so you know what I'm saying. Some of the characters aren't quite right, but
you'd have to actually know the language to know that.
Yeah, so I guess I kind of ratted this out a little bit. For those of you who are in Japan, we realized that we didn't quite have that quite spot on. We did the best we could.
Well, it's not as bad as somebody getting a tattoo and it's not spot on. So.
Well, that's true. And you see that with people getting Chinese symbols or Japanese symbols, and every once in a while you see it with U.S. stuff, and there's a whole Pinterest thing about that you should check out sometime.
Okay.
Because I know you would like to know you'll laugh hysterically over that.
Oh,
especially there's one I saw in German that I can't repeat on the air. That, oh my god, it's just you should definitely take a look.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you don't know what Mandarin or Cantonese is, do not get tattoos in those symbols.
Yeah, if you don't read the language, don't do it.
Well, no, I mean, like, if you don't know that Mandarin and Cantonese are a language, don't get the symbols.
Well, yeah. Definitely don't do that either, yeah. I would say if you don't read it, don't do it.
It's amazing to me how many people I meet, I see their tattoos and ask what they are, and they'll tell me they're Chinese for this or da-da-da. And I'll ask, are they Cantonese, Mandarin, what are they? They have no clue what that even means. They thought that getting a tattoo in that language was something they should do,
Oh, there's so much potential for fail there.
Right? So much. Speaking of that, have you ever actually seen the tattoo the guy has on his back? It is an exceptionally beautiful piece. The tattoo artist did it was amazing. Likenesses are spot on. The color work in it is fantastic. You know, as someone who has a lot of tattoos, I can very much appreciate how fantastic this tattoo is. But the word on his back says Marvel, and it has all these characters in it, and in the R is Batman. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's so great because he gets Marvel on his back, and then Batman's in the center.
Oh, that's so wrong in so many ways.
Right? Oh. Unless he did it knowing it, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, I could see how there could be some beauty in it just for the look of the characters, but on the other, you kind of have to look at Marvel and Batman in the same image and go, are we doing a crossover here?
Right.
If we are, cool. If not, I don't know.
Yeah, and the other characters in it are like the Hulk and Spider-Man, something like that, so it makes sense except for Batman.
Oh, man.
So what do you got going for reward tiers this time around?
We've got our digital tier at $3, which gets you, the PDF on release, and then also you get your name on our online Wall of Honor, which we have for issue 1 as well. Our $10 tier that gets you the PDF, your name on the Wall of Honor, and then an unsigned print copy of the Alexia Veldhausen cover mailed to you. That, of course, includes shipping, and that's going to be done by U.S. Media Mail because the postal regulations will allow us to send that, but it's going to be all packaged up like we usually do, so it's all squared away and protected. And then we get the $25 tier, which is our kind of our basic, cool rewards package, where you get like your signed copy of issue 2, your PDF, your name on the Wall of Honor, and then our campaign mini art print. I say mini, it's actually 5.5 by 8.5, so it's a really good size print. And what we've done is we took that image from issue 1 of the Aiko Castle, and we've turned that into a print. So if you've got issue 1, you know the one I'm talking about, where the samurai are getting ready to cross the bridge, and you have this fantastic piece that Alexia did for it. And so we had a lot of people asking about that, so we put it into the campaign this time as part of that legend, Everything Higher.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I was really happy with it. And we're also doing our thank you postcards again, and we're putting those in at the $25 tier and higher. And then our $35 reward tier is signed Veldhausen cover, and then print copies of that, and then also a copy of the variant cover by Paul Walcott. He's not going to be signing those because of a little bit of a scheduling conflict we have, but you'll actually have the variant cover in that as well, plus the 8.5 by 5.5 campaign reprint. This is really going to be, I think, a lot of fun because he did a really cool variant cover with an image of Kinemon with his sword basically coming at the reader. But I think it's just a really nice touch.
Yeah, I saw that before we started, and it looks great.
And we've got a tier that has a few of the remaining copies of issue 1 available too for a limited number of backers there. And then when we get to one of our bigger tiers, we've got our run-in tier, and that has, of course, your print copy of signed print copy of the Veldhausen cover, a copy of the variant cover, the art print, and then also our large 11 by 17 art print. With that, we're shipping those along with the books. We're putting those in the top loader sleeves and shipping the whole thing priority to arrive in the absolute best condition we can. We're boxing the whole thing up and sending it out to people. And of course, we have a campaign T-shirt that is available as well. And then when we get to our 2 highest tiers on this, we have original art pages from issue 2. Alexia is making available half of the interior art pages, so 10 pages, that will be the original ink washed pages. They're basically 11 by 17. You've seen these all the time. It's actually a little bit different size than that, but probably think the best comparison for the people who aren't familiar with it. And we're going to be shipping those along with the rest of the package, like the shirt and the 11 by 17 art print and the copy of the Veldhausen cover, and of course the Paul Walcott cover as well. And then just like we did with our first campaign, we have a single exclusive tier at the daimyo level. We've been really fortunate. People really like this tier. Apparently, our first issue, this was claimed on our first funding attempt, and then we didn't fund in that one. We launched again. Someone else claimed it right after that. And so what this does is not only do you get like your signed copy and everything, but the issue gets dedicated to you. And then you work with me, and we put a dedication hike into the book for you. You get credit for that in the book. And then also you get the original cover art for issue 2 for the Veldhausen cover.
Okay. That sounds like you got quite a few planned. Are you doing any stretch goals?
Right now we've only got one that we've revealed, and that's at $16,000. We have a big goal because we're wholly funding everything on this. That's only $1,000 up, and we're adding another mini print to every tier at $25 and higher. And I have another one planned that I want to reveal after that one's reached, and that's going to be available at $20,000.
Okay. And what is the goal exactly?
We're funding $15,000 for this, and what that does is that basically covers our $5,050 art costs, and then our production of print costs for all the comics, all the print, and all that. And then a big section of it is our shipping.
Okay.
So most of our rewards are shipped priority. Our shipping on this is about 33% of the total cost of the campaign.
Yeah.
So we're looking at, basically it comes out to about, I don't know how interested people are in the specifics, but when you look at the math on it and you calculate it out, it comes out to about $4,980 or so, just at the typical distribution of backers to fulfill this campaign. And so that's just because we're using priority shipping on everything except for the $10 tier.
Right. Shipping is an incredibly expensive thing. A lot of people don't get that if they don't do Kickstarters or do a lot of selling online. But yeah, it adds up really quickly to big amounts. I annually spend close to $10,000 a year on shipping costs.
Yeah, I think last year I spent $4,000 on shipping costs.
Yeah. Which
is insane. If you think about it, because we had some very, very small campaigns, and just the rest of it was just stuff that was sold and shipped out. The other thing, too, we've got some stuff on the Sonoma Etsy store, just a couple items right there that are reflective of the 47 Furious Tales brand and property, and any revenue from that's going to be basically used towards the series. So.
Are you doing any more merchandising in the future?
We're still looking for someone to produce a stuffed toy for us.
Okay.
I am having a hard time finding anyone in the United States to do that. And, I mean, I've been looking for someone in the U.S. or possibly in Canada for about a year and a half now. And there's a few good reasons why for that. One is to take and kind of cut out the shipping from China.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, recently with the viral outbreak that's going on, people have concerns about that.
Yeah.
Me personally, not so much, but a lot of people I don't know if I want anything from China right now. And it is slowing things down. Some of the comic creators who had their stuff printed by like Print Ninja, for example,
mm-hmm.
they're seeing a delay as things are being held to make sure they're decontaminated and not potentially dangerous.
Well, that's good to know. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a creator called the Umbrella Guy on Indiegogo. He was bringing it up. He was saying that they were holding that for just a waiting period to make sure that there wasn't any potential contamination or something to that effect. You can get the information off his update on his campaign, though. He goes into some detail on it.
Oh, okay. That'd be a tough thing to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about shipping from China is you're kind of at the mercy of everything that entails. And don't get me wrong, I'm not averse to having things produced in China as long as they're produced ethically,
right?
In safe environments and with safe materials. But if I can get something produced in the United States or Canada, it cuts down on the shipping expense. It kind of keeps the money closer to home, I guess is a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and you have better control over it, too, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, if I could, I'd have it produced right here in Kentucky.
Right.
Or Ohio, or, Texas, or, wherever, Oregon, Montana. I was just trying to find some place that can meet the specifications I need at a price point I can deal with.
Right.
Because you've seen some of these characters for 47 Furious Tales, for example. There's one in particular who I would really love to see made into a plushie, but getting it done domestically as opposed to a domestic place that just orders the exterior of the thing and then stuffs it here in the United States is kind of a key thing.
Right.
Because a lot of places will get that the actual exterior of it sewn and manufactured in China, ship it to their facility and then stuff it here in the U.S., which doesn't make any sense to me. I'd rather just kind of get it made here from start to finish, but, that's just me.
Yeah, it's kind of the same concept of how cars are made, though, when you think about it.
Yeah. But, I'm really glad, though, that Mixum, who printed 47 Furious Tales for us, those were actually printed in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool. And the nice part about that, too, is even though you pay a little more for the printing, and it's not much, it's just very little more per copy, I pay a lot less for shipping, and instead of waiting 3 months for the layover from China,
right,
I actually got it in under 2 weeks. So that really expedites my shipping timeline.
So far, I have been able to find cheaper printing plus shipping in the United States than anything I've been quoted from China for the printing of the actual comics. It gets a little bit different when you're looking at the other things like, statues, stuffed animals, toys, that kind of stuff. But so far, I've been very fortunate in finding people that aren't too far away. And like I said, one of the benefits if you keep it in your state is the quality control is all right there, especially if they're near you, because then you can drive there and actually see how it's turning out,
Yeah, exactly.
And I did have the problem with Ghost Assassin when it was printed, but so far that's been the only comic that I've actually had issues with that phase of production on. The prices from China are pretty good, but realistically, when you're doing comics, if you're doing under 5,000 to 10,000, you can get the printing just as cheaply done in the U.S. as what you can over there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It just requires a bit more looking around. There is a company that Marvel was printing with out of Kentucky for a while. I don't know if they still are or not.
Yeah, they're in Louisville, and I have a little bit of communication with them, but so far it looks like I need larger production runs on that to make it cost effective. But the nice part about, I won't mention their name on the air, but I've sent you their information before. Mm-hmm. They actually have in-house fulfillment. So the cool thing about that is that if I had, I think it was like at the 3,000 copy mark, it would actually be more effective for me to use them because not only would they print the comic, but they would package it to my specifications and ship it using their preferred shipping rate with their contract with the USPS, just like Amazon does, basically.
Right.
But and even for smaller press runs, I could get it done and drive to Louisville and pick it up. But the thing is that if it's like 1,000 or less, it's actually more cost effective for me to just get it from Mixum,
right?
Who, as you see, did a great job on the 47. The difference is significant enough that it's just cheaper and more effective, and I get great quality going by Mixum, and I save a considerable amount of money. Right. When we get to about 3,000 or so, it levels out to where it's just more prudent to use something of that press size.
Right. Or when you're doing multiple books at one time.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got, say, for example, if you do something like you've got issues 1, 2, and 3, and you want to go ahead and get them all done and shipped, then yeah, definitely use someone like that who can go ahead and produce them, package them, and ship them, and then just pick up the ones that you have to sign for backers and ship them out manually. Those save you a huge amount of time. And then the really cool part about that is you can actually, for me particularly, where Louisville's only 60 something miles away from me, I can literally drive up there in an hour and be checking on what's going on. And they've got a really good reputation. There's some other folks here in Kentucky who have done some business with them, but when you're looking at indie comics, getting 500 backers is a big deal.
Oh yeah,
getting 1,000 or more is tremendous. Love to see 1,000 backers on this issue. We really do need about 500 or so to reach goal, and I think it's very doable. We've got a lot of support, and our previous backers are behind us really well. The book is looking really good. You've seen the covers, and people are going to see the covers on the launch page. It's going to be really something to behold.
So what's the plan going forward? Are you going to stick with Kickstarter for the remaining issues?
Yeah, that's the plan. To the point that, let me give you a good hypothetical, because this was something that someone asked me a while ago, and it made me stop and think. If you have like a campaign that blows up well beyond your expectations, say for example, this particular campaign is set at a $15,000 goal.
Okay. So
that covers our $5,000 plus in our costs. That covers our almost $5,000 in shipping costs. It covers our $4,000 in production costs and our Kickstarter fee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've put in a little bit of money, like I told you, the prints. They should be here on Wednesday, for example. But let's say, as a given hypothetical, that maybe we reached $30,000, which is, a tremendously successful campaign. That would actually produce some excess revenue. And the thing I do with any campaign that does that is I use that excess revenue towards the next campaign. So anything that we made above and beyond what we needed to fulfill, I would turn around and use that to start buying pages to get done for issue 3. So, I mean, it's a cool way to get your product made through your crowdfunding. And I think it's also a good, responsible way to do it, because you're not really abusing your crowdfunding to try and line your own pockets. You're just trying to produce the best material you can. I mean, there's nothing wrong with making some money. I'm not saying that. I have a day job, and
right.
You have your day job. You make your living, and I make my living, and everything on this is, for me, part of building the business. And it's more important that I get the best quality out and use that money as responsibly as I can to make the best products I can bring to people.
Well, what you just hit on is a valid point, too. There is a large difference between somebody who crowdfunds one comic series and that's all they ever want to do, and somebody who's looking to create a business.
Yeah.
Like me, I don't just want to publish Ghost Assassin or Chronicles of Von Helsing, I want to eventually have, 15 monthly books and limited series and trade paperbacks and production and, all that. I want it to be an actual business. Some people, they just want to do the one series or even a one-shot issue, and that's their toe dipped in comics. So if they make extra money and it goes in their pocket, no biggie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a couple other comics that are sitting on my desk that are scripted out that I want to do, and there's two of them are particularly interesting because they are basically written for existing role-playing properties.
Okay.
One of which I've been trying to reach out to the people who own the property, and emails have been back and forth. The other, the gentleman who owns that intellectual property has agreed to allow me to produce that comic. We just need to find the right artist. And I had one who could do it, but she had some concerns about if she believed that she could actually do it.
Okay.
So I'm looking for an artist who can produce that, the level of art quality. So to give you an idea, we're looking for someone who can pull off something similar to what Anacleto could do, or something like a Mike Miller, or something like someone who has that fine detail on there, because there's going to be a lot to these scenes.
Okay.
Because it's an entirely original fantasy setting that we're basing it on. There is a gentleman who the IP holder is very friendly with, who illustrates, among other things, he illustrates Magic the Gathering cards, WATC. for Wizard of the Coast. He may be available, but that's still under discussion. So if we can ever get that ironed out, you may see that would come out with a one-shot first, and then assuming that the market is receptive to it, we'd move into like a quarterly release schedule.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
With an ongoing series.
And would you be doing that through Kickstarter as well, or are you doing some other sort of release with it?
We would do the first one through Kickstarter, definitely. And then, depending on the reception of it, if we need to continue to crowdfund it, we continue to crowdfund it with the recurring series, and then see what we can do about getting a mass distribution of that title subsequent to, say, 6 or 7 issues being out.
Okay.
To see if we can get reinforced. And the reason being is that once you have 6 or 7 months of books, then that one makes it easier for you to get into any of the distribution hubs.
Absolutely.
If you're distributing through Diamond, you're talking about a 9-month wait for your money from the time that you pitch, produce, and ship. And that's not a derogatory statement. That's just about what the timeline comes out to be.
Right.
And going forward with that, if you're looking to distribute from Diamond, people need to understand that that's how that goes. If you're going to distribute direct, like some of the other small press guys are doing to comic shops, then you have certain challenges on shipping that you have to address. And then, of course, you have your shipping model that's shaping up. I won't spoil too much there because I don't know how much you've put out about it.
I haven't put out hardly anything about it yet.
Okay, so everyone who's listening, forget I said that. We don't want Diamond looking too hard over here. But you get the idea. If you've got several months worth of releases ready to go, it becomes a lot easier on a monthly release to sustain your model, because by the time you are, say, releasing book 7 to market, you are starting to see those payments coming in from those first book releases.
Right. And
you can convert that into paying for art for those next books. So crowdfunding really makes a huge difference if you're looking at a serial book, especially if something's going to be ongoing continually and not have like, this story is just a 12-issue saga and then we're going to wrap it. If you've got something more along the lines, something like Usagi Yojimbo, or something like that you're going to continually produce stories for, it makes a lot of sense because you can get your book out, get it ready, and then when you decide you want to take it to mass distribution, you already have these books ready, and it's just a matter of how many do you need to order from me?
Right.
Where do I need to ship them to? And now I get to wait 9 months for my money.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty standard way independent creators used to do things too. Like Bone was always on a bi-monthly basis. And I think the earlier issues of Usagi Yojimbo were bi-monthly as well. Like Akiko, Mark, I'm probably butchering his last name, but Crilly, the book he did through Osiris, I think that was bi-monthly. Quite a few of those books were bi-monthly or even quarterly back then that actually stuck around for a while, like Poison Elves. That went, I think, that went until Drew's death at issue number 63 or 64, right? And that was on a bi-monthly schedule.
Yeah.
Most of them back then that were actually successful. You'll see the biggest burnout in people who try to get things out on a monthly basis.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, is that if you're going to do it on a monthly basis, you have to have at least a 3-person team on the art.
Right.
Because having someone who's going to do your actual pencils, and you can usually get away with those folks doing their own inks, and some people insist on it, and that's fine. But when you go to coloring, for example, Alexia does all her own coloring. She does a wonderful job of it. But if we think about how much more quickly we could release if it wasn't a situation that required that.
Right.
So, for example, with one of my comics, which is a children's comic, breaking that into having someone doing the pencils and inks, someone else doing the color, and a third person doing the lettering is actually going to cut the production time in half.
Oh, yeah.
So, because literally, instead of having one person working twice as long on one page, you literally, as soon as you split off the coloring and the lettering, it's just all of a sudden, boom, everything's coming along much more smoothly. So long as you've got your people who know how to work with each other, your colorist has to understand how to color the pages for the artists.
Oh, yeah.
You need to make sure they're understanding the lettering that's going to be going into there, because, just your dialogue boxes and your narrative blocks and all that, when you're doing that, they have to understand that that's going to be in there. So having your script intact is critically important. Can you tell I've been studying how to make comics? I've been trying to figure this out. So we've got one book out. Yay me. Let's go ahead and get book 2 out. So,
well, that's one thing that I push on everybody. Every time I'm asked in a panel, what is the most important thing in creating a comic, or, what's going to make people successful and not successful? Study, study, study.
Yep.
Read comics, but there's thousands of back issues of magazines that have been put out that have interviews with creators. YouTube is full of interviews with creators. Listen to that stuff. Read that stuff.
Definitely. And there's some really talented people who are going through everything from pencil to inking, the whole 9 yards. And then, of course, I'm really lucky. Most of the folks I commissioned are graduates of the Kubrick Art School.
Mm-hmm.
So which is kind of neat when people are emailing Adam Kubrick and
Andy Kubrick. Andy.
Yeah. What did I say? Did I say Adam?
Well, yeah, Adam and Andy. They both own it now, right?
Well, actually, they just sold the school last year.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah. But whether they're talking to the Kubrick guys, or if they're talking to Fernando Ruiz, or any of the other folks who are veterans of that particular, graduates rather, of that particular school, you'll see that there's a lot of people reaching out, and we've gotten some really good feedback from some creators who are working for Image, or doing some work here and there for Marvel, DC, Anarch Press, that have said, hey, this is cool. Are you guys doing this? Are you guys doing this? And just some really nice information that came our way by way of feedback after the first book. So it's really looking up. And personally, I'm really looking forward to, when we get through all 12 issues, to getting that assembled into a hardbound. Because of course we're going to keep, like I said, the issues haiku in each section, and then also we're only doing those daimyo tiers through issue 11. Issue 12, the dedication haiku, is actually going to be Asano Naganori's death haiku that he composed before he committed seppuku. So we'll have that in the back of the book, right there. So it's going to be a very, very thematically appropriate series. If you like squirrels, foxes, and rabbits, and guinea pigs and stuff like that, and like samurai, this is definitely a cool book for you.
Yeah, I recommend it. With that, we're about out of time for tonight. So,
cool.
What day is it launching?
So, launching on Wednesday, February 5th.
Wednesday, February 5th.
Yep, we just got 3 more days. Well, we're recording on the 2nd, so 3 days from today.
And what time of the day is it launching?
Noon Eastern Standard Time. So that's 9 a.m. on the West Coast.
Yep, 9 a.m. here, noon your time. So, yep. All right. Thank you once again for being on tonight, Sam.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
And thanks for listening.